I grew up on a reservation that was mostly about pine trees and about the Columbia River, and we're a salmon people, as well as all the Ish tribes over here. And can you tell me a little bit about your relationship with salmon?
Well, the salmon was a commodity that my people never got tired of. They had a lot of respect for the life of a salmon and honored it in ways that were spiritual as well as medicinal, as well as out of necessity. But they had a different feeling about salmon than the sports fisherman has. A sports fisherman loves the feel of a salmon at the other end of a line. I do too, because I have been a sports fisherman. But when my dad would set a little net in the Skagit River, and he would manage to catch a salmon, he'd bring it home. My mother would greet that salmon as a long-lost child. And she would pick the thing up and actually kiss it. And she was very demonstrative, my mother was, and I knew exactly how she felt. Every first person that I have ever known has felt the same way about greeting a salmon. And they might have salmon every day of the week, and you take them to a restaurant and read them the menu, and salmon. That's what they want, is salmon.
Yeah, and I remember as a child on my reservation, there'd be so many Indians traveling in, selling dry salmon, selling salmon this, salmon that, salmon ice cream, salmon sandwiches, and I don't see them anymore. What happened to them?
Maybe they're working in bingo parlors and casinos.
How do you feel about bingo parlors and casinos?
Well, because the salmon are no longer a commodity for us to sell, you've noticed that yourself, we are survivors. And I don't see the casinos as buildings. I don't see them as gambling dens. I see them as lost resources. And I think they're temporary, but I'm glad that my people can be off the welfare rolls for a while anyway. I really do.
How would you respond to non-Indians who often say that casinos are immoral and it's a bad thing for Indians to be making money off immoral purposes? Now you know where I get it, you know. I'm not the only Indian like I am. Yeah, that's always an interesting thing for me because European Americans often go on and on about how much Native American tribes have lost, how much of our culture, our languages, etc., when in fact European Americans have lost much more than we have. I mean, you and I are still particularly identified with our specific tribes and still identified with all the language and culture and customs of our tribes. How would you respond to that situation?
Well, I have been told that wherever I have traveled in Europe, they will express those same sentiments to me, and they would say, we don't have a culture. It's so wonderful to hear something that's real. We don't have a culture. That surprised me so much because they were admitting that they didn't have a culture. They had been displaced so often, and they could hear me as still maintaining a culture that was real. That surprised me. I didn't realize that I was real.
And what advice would you give to European Americans who are searching for some culture, some connection with the land here, or some connection with the Creator, God, whatever we want to call that force? What kind of advice would you give them?
I think that the advice that I have heard many wise people before me give, look inside of yourself. It's there. You can always find it there. It's in you.
The only Indian who ever went to Catholic school on purpose in his generation. And was not really traditional. I mean, he speaks his language, although he doesn't speak it very often, and he was the jitterbug champion of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. He played classical piano. My mother, on the other hand, was very traditional and grew up in a highly traditional family, and so I'm sort of the mix of this Catholic father and this Spokane Indian mother that is a very odd cocktail. And can you tell me about your parents and how they affected your life?
My mother and my father were extremely traditional and raised me on the Skagit River, up and down the Skagit River. And my dad was a carver, a canoe carver, a logger, and a fisherman when there was time to get in a canoe and put a net in the Skagit River. This was during the Depression time. I was born in 1918, which makes me 2 years to 80. And during the Depression time, I observed how people can deal with depression, not mental depression, because we were rich. I never ever felt poor. The beauty of that culture that shared hardship was to me a marvel, because the happiness that was shared in just fellowship was the healthiest way in the world for an only child to grow up, to watch people be happy together and to bring a potato, one piece of salt pork, and the carcass of a salmon, and make soup that could feed 10 people, and watch them enjoy sharing that meal together, made them the richest people in the world because they loved and enjoyed one another. This is the kind of family I grew up with. And somebody said, when I was lecturing at Seattle U one time, how did you get from there to here? I said, oh, you want the story of my life? I'll tell you. I'm an only child. I was taught that I was not better than anybody else. I was taught that I was the best.
So would you like to tell us another story?
Sure. I'll tell you another story. The first one I ever told over the air. It's only 2 minutes long. It applies. I told it in Washington, D.C., too. Tudi tuhak, was tia asitabi, tia pigudat. A long time ago, the people were gathered in a great, big, long house. Probably something like this. Tata bab halwa. They were talking to one another. Hadil, tia skabia. Skunk came in. Good deal. He came in and he sat down. Skabia. Shugwa, what should aren't you going to talk to your people? My information is very, very important. And your house is full of holes. Only if you fix your house. His information is very important. We better fix our house. The people went out and they took armfuls of grandfather moss. They returned. They stuffed up all of the cracks in their longhouse. We're done, skunk. So easy got to Skagit. Now, what is skunk's important information? What is he going to say to us? Ki Skagit, skunk came in to the middle of the house. He turned around, he raised his tail, that's what he did. Everybody died. What happened? Because skunk was a very powerful man a long time ago, and that thing that he had was so deadly, it could indeed kill everybody that was in the surroundings. Now, our people don't allow that. So they made a sequel to that story. People knew that skunk was traveling. Built a fire. The people built a big hot fire. Again, skunk came in, and because, again, in Sherman's part of the land, came in through the smoke hole. The people grabbed him as he came in through the smoke hole, and they sat him down on the hot rocks, and they cauterized you know what. So that forever and ever,